What is the information return? Well, basically each year a charity is required to submit a T3010 registered charity information return. A complete return is composed of a variety of components. Basically, we have the information return, which captures a lot of the financial information that exists in an organized fashion. Then we also have something called a basic information sheet, which is called a BIS. We also have a copy of the charity's financial statements that need to be submitted. There's a list of directors, trustees, or like officials that need to be submitted. And there's other worksheets that might apply to that charity. For example, if they had provided funds to qualified donees, then they need to submit a worksheet that relates to the funds that they transferred over to qualified donees. Some of the information that relates to this information return is that basically a charity will receive this package in the month following their fiscal end year. Then they've got 6 months from that time to complete the information return and forward it back to CRA. Charities really need to develop processes to ensure they can capture the information they need and be able to move this over into the information return in a timely way. As we mentioned, things like having separate spreadsheets for certain lines or linking accounting lines to the information return reporting lines are really part of this preparatory component. And they really need to make sure they've got processes to ensure completion of this and filing within the designated time. This would also include things like making sure the board is aware of this and has time to look over any financial elements and make appropriate decisions so that approval can occur within the time frame required to submit it back. Information that is submitted to CRA is published on their website. And this is really critical for a charity to recognize, is that the public can access all of this information, and therefore it's part of their marketing strategy so that to put their best foot forward, but also it's a point of accountability and transparency that is really required in terms of the operations of the charity. Some of the components that are involved, one is called the basic information sheet, and basically on this basic information sheet you've got all of the information that relates to the charity. The registration number, their registration date, the address stuff like mailing address, telephone, fax number, email, website information, the public contact name, the name the charity might be known on, if it's different than what their registration name is, and the program areas that the charity is involved with. This information can actually be changed on the form when it's submitted because, for example, maybe the address changes or the public contact information changes, and so it's logical that that can be changed. But there's other information that can't be changed on the form. For example, the legal name or the designation, whether a charity is a registered charity or maybe wants to be a public foundation, then they need to go through a process to get approval by CRA to do that. Or if they want to change their fiscal period, you just can't decide to change that. So there needs to be approval processes that involve CRA before that can occur. And then again, this information is posted on the website. Another component that is expected to be forwarded are things like the income statement, which is really a statement of revenue or expenditures. The balance sheet, which is a statement of assets and liabilities. Again, ensuring that the accounting method is consistent, either cash or accrual. And again, this needs to be signed by the board treasurer or an authorized director or trustee. One of the other components that needs to be submitted is a list of directors or trustees or like officials. So for example, some of this information is posted on the website, like the names and positions of the directors. Whether these directors are at arm's length with each other, and we talked about the concept of arm's length being that they're not related either by family or business connections with other members of the board. And again, a board is allowed a certain percentage of that, up to 50%, to be at not arm's length, but that identification needs to occur on this form. Some of this information is kept confidential. For example, the birth date of directors or other private information about the addresses of the directors. This is kept confidential, but CRA needs this information to kind of confirm the identity of the board members. On the bottom of this slide, I've just identified a part of what the form would look like, and you can see on there that they've got what would be the public information that would go on the website, and then the confidential information that would not go on the website but CRA needs. If a charity has provided funds to another qualified donee, then they need to submit a qualified donee's worksheet. On this worksheet, they need to identify who the qualified donee that they provided their funding to is. They need to make sure that they have the registration number of that particular charity, and then identify whether that charity is associated with the charity that has donated or forwarded this money to them. So all of the funds that are directed to any qualified donee need to be identified on this worksheet and submitted to Revenue Canada. Revenue Canada has a variety of resources that will assist in the completion of this information return. In fact, their website is constructed to augment each of these definitions to try and clarify if there's some confusion about what a certain term means. Now, as part of our partnership group, the Legal Information Society of Nova Scotia has constructed an annotated 3010 information return, and this is on their website. It's an excellent resource, and this gives you a little snapshot of what a component might look like. Within this resource, they really have a screen capture of the 3010 form, and they've got these little stickies. You can see the little yellow balloons here, in which if you're looking at line 4100 and you want to know what that means, then you can go into the sticky, and the sticky identifies what is related to that, and also links you over to other CRA resources or explanations that would relate to that particular line. So this is a great resource that you can use to help clarify confusions you might have about a reporting line. To assist charities, CRA has put together a list of common errors or concerns in regards to 3010 compliance. So for example, the most common concern that CRA has is the late filing. Over 20% of organizations file late, which creates a sanction and penalty issue. But for those that do file, then there's issues around incomplete information on their returns, insufficient books and records, incomplete receipts or false information, or donations to non-qualified donees. There is an increase in the number of charities that are having their status revoked. Again, Revenue Canada is looking at directing more resources to auditing, and then really having more charities involved in educational initiatives to make sure that they address any shortfalls that they have in regards to their compliance. And the other issue is that there's a continual growth of the sector. In 2007, there was almost 4,000 applications, of which only about 2,300 were approved. And again, the common reason for denial of that was insufficient detail on the kinds of charitable activities. So CRA is really trying to make the charities aware of what are the common errors and trying to help them with being more specific with their charitable purposes and activities. We put together a worksheet, which is worksheet 14, on common errors that would really help a charity to double check the most common mistakes that occur in submitting their information return.